Every programming language has a date object, which enables us to not only put the date on the page, but also the time. It also allows us to perform date calculations, such as countdowns to a certain date. In JavaScript, the date object begins with a capital letter D and is followed by two parentheses. Most objects, methods, and functions are followed by parentheses. Sometimes they take a parameter, sometimes they do not. When working with the date object, we need to create a new instance of that date object, and we use the JavaScript keyword new. So I am storing this object in a variable called today. That is the variable that I will use to access all of the methods of the date object. And I am using some alerts here, as alerts are great ways to show you the value of an expression. Let's take a look at these various methods. So the variable today, which is storing the date object, will give me a string expression of not only the date, but the time. This is interpreted by the browser, and it may be different in different browsers. So if I wanted to access the numeric date, and today is February 16th, I would use the getDate method. So this is the getDate method of the date object. Remember, we have stored the date object in the variable today, and it returns a number. If I wanted to get the day of the week, for example, Sunday through Saturday, I would use the getDay method. However, because this is a computer application, it returns a number from 0 to 6. So if we wanted to show the day of the week, we would need to write some additional code. The getMonth method of the date object returns a numeric value between 0 and 11 to represent the month. Since today is February, the month is represented by 1. Again, should I wish to put that name of the month on my website, I would need to perform some additional code. getFullYear will return the full year, and this video is being recorded in 2018. JavaScript also has a getYear method, which returns a 2-digit year. Various components of time are also part of the date object. So here the getTime method returns all of the milliseconds since the epoch January 1st, 1970. The getMinutes method will return the part of the minutes in that hour. The getHours method will return the hour. Now this returns the hour from 0 to 23. So once you pass 12 o'clock, you would need to subtract 12 if you wanted to show a more friendly hour as opposed to a military hour. getSecond will return the second between 0 and 59. There are many more methods of the date object for time zones and other types of date characteristics. JavaScript has some other interesting methods that allow us to retrieve the complete date in a various format. Again, we always need to start with creating an instance of the date object. So let's take a look at how some of these methods might look. The toString method of the date object returns an easy-to-read date which includes the time. We have the parse method, which takes the date and it returns the milliseconds. We have the now method, which would also take a date and return those milliseconds. We have the toDateString method, which will give us the date in a string format. We have the toLocalDateString method, which gives us the date in a different format. We have the toLocalString method, which gives us the date and the time in a relatively easy to understand format. The toString method is very similar to the browser representation of the date. If we wanted to display the date on the web page, and I am just using the day of the week as an example here, we would need to either use an if statement, a switch statement, or an array. Arrays have not necessarily been covered yet, however, you may see some examples. We always need to start with creating a new instance of the date object, and since we are concerned with displaying the name of the day, I will create a variable to hold that. I am declaring a variable to hold the number that will be returned by JavaScript. Because today is representing my date object, I will retrieve the day of the week using the getDate method. So here I have today.getDay, and I am storing it in a variable, the day. So the day is the number, day name is the name that I will set up. So in my if condition here, I have if the day is 0, and this is the number being returned by JavaScript, depending on the day of the week. So if the day is 0, I will set the day name to Sunday. So if I wanted to spell it as an abbreviation, SUN, I could. This is a literal, and it is my choice of how I am representing my day of the week. So we have an else if. If the day is 1, then we're going to set the value of the variable to Monday. If the day returns 2, we will set the value of the variable to Tuesday. Ultimately, I will have my alert, and in my alert, I will have a string literal describing what I am doing with my variables. So I have a variable that will hold the value from JavaScript, and I have a variable that will hold the value from my if statement. And I'm only using an alert to demonstrate this. And here you see the day number is 5 and the day name is Friday. So when you're writing JavaScript code and you're determining values, it is really important to test those values first to make sure that your code is correct. So if I wanted to write the day of the week to the web page, I would need a placeholder, which I have here, and I would also need to add my window.onload function. Remember, when we are accessing something in the web page, we need to wait until the page is loaded so that JavaScript knows where that is. The only statement that needs to be in here is the statement where I'm actually writing to the page. All of the code in which I set up my date object and determine the day of the week using my if statement does not need to go inside the onload function. So here I am setting the inner HTML property for my placeholder, which is my H3 with the ID day of the week. And I'm saying today is concatenated with day name. Day name was retrieved from my if statement based on the numeric value being returned by the day, which came from the date object. So here we can see it says today is Friday.